Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win or you find a way to lose. Looks like probation and community service may not be on the table for Gervonta Tank Davis. He has a couple court dates coming up, one this month, another one later this year in September. And we know that Tank Davis had initially rejected plea deals for the hit and run incident and the domestic battery charge. And there was a time when they were talking about this and feeling that with Tank Davis' profile and being associated with Mayweather and saying how money talks, that Tank would be able to avoid all of these charges and probably get a slap on the wrist with community service or probation. However, now it's not really looking like that's on the table. The thing about him having been put on probation, he probably would have been put on probation for like 3 to 5 years, and with the expectation of someone to kind of look over him, which Floyd Mayweather or whoever he was going to remain with would have taken responsibility. But now Gervonta Davis is not sure if he's going to continue with Floyd Mayweather and Mayweather Promotions. Leonard Ellaby has come out and said that when he met Tank Davis, he was a six-round fighter. And when he got with Mayweather Promotions, within 14 months, they got him a championship fight, and he became a pay-per-view fighter, making loads of money. Now, he did say that Gervonta Tank Davis did his part. And it wasn't just Mayweather Promotions who solely got Gervonta Davis to the position he's in. He said, but it was a team effort. Mayweather Promotions working hard behind the scenes, which afforded Gervonta Tank Davis and his team to just focus on getting ready for the fight and winning. So Leonard Ellaby, you can tell, he's very savvy, and he's used to being in front of the camera. But what I took from that conversation is that he felt the relationship was complimentary, and Tank is free to go on and do whatever he wants. But at the same time, Tank may not have grown to be the superstar that he is, because there are a lot of promoters who talk about being able to build pay-per-view stars, and not one has really been able to build a pay-per-view star and draw as consistent as Mayweather Promotions. You know, when we look at pay-per-view, you talk about Canelo. Some people say, well, hey, Oscar De La Hoya built Canelo. Well, no, I think Canelo, through just his fighting and maybe a little bit of being with De La Hoya, but the whole comparison to Mayweather, I think helped a lot with Canelo's profile. And then getting that shot with Mayweather really did a lot for Canelo Alvarez. And then he went on and did his own thing. But when you look at Mayweather Promotions and who they built into pay-per-view stars, what they really have is Mayweather. And, Mayweather holds the records for, I think the top 3 or 4 highest grossing pay-per-view sales and events. So that's what they hold on to. And to get to that point, you have to know what you're doing. And they said they've taken all of that experience, and that's what they've used to kind of get Gervonta to this point. But now that they're not sure on what Gervonta is doing, it seems to me like maybe they're ready to distance themselves and allow Gervonta Davis to figure out what he's going to do next, because Gervonta Davis is a big man. But at the same time, if he feels that they can't help him, or he feels that somebody doesn't want to see him shine, and they feel Mayweather still wants all the praise and all the prestige, and he decides to go do something different, like go with another promoter, I think they feel like, well, all right, go ahead, sink or swim. And if Gervonta Davis does decide to do something like that, which I doubt he'll do, he has to be really prepared, because it's hard for a promoter to want to go and invest money in you and take you on when they're not sure what's going on with your future. So if Gervonta Davis, after this fight with Rolly Romero, doesn't commit to remaining with Mayweather Promotions, I'm not sure what's going to happen next. I'm sure a lot of people are going to want him because he is a star. But what do you do with a guy who has these court dates going on with the potential of going to jail for 12 years? And some of you guys out there, if you weren't aware, just for the hit and run incident, right? Because Rolly Romero is, he's very vocal, and he's saying that that he feels that Tank is like, I hope I get arrested and go to jail. That way I can avoid getting this beating, because Rolly really feels he's going to knock Tank out, which to me is a very competitive fight. But when it comes to Gervonta Davis and his charges, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know much about, law. I have a general understanding, but when you talk about 4 counts of failure to immediately return to remain at the scene of an accident involving bodily injury, that will drive a 1-year prison sentence. Then 1 count of failure of the driver involved in an accident to render reasonable assistance to an injured person, that's 60 days. 1 count of failure of a vehicle driver involved in an accident to furnish required ID and license, another 60 days. And these can run concurrently. 1 count of failure of vehicle driver involved in an accident to exhibit license to police, another 60 days. 1 count of failure of vehicle driver involved in an accident to report to nearest police, another 60 days. 1 count of failure of vehicle driver in an accident to locate, also notify the owner of unattended property of damage, another 60 days. 1 count of failure of vehicle driver in an accident to furnish required ID information in writing or unattended vehicle property, 60 days. 1 count of the person driving a motor vehicle on the highway on a suspended license and privilege, 1 year. 1 count of person driving a motor vehicle on the highway with revoked license and privilege, 1 year. 1 count of driving a motor vehicle on the highway without the required license and authorization, 60 days. 1 count of the driver failing to stop at a steady circular red signal. And then the last thing says a conviction would be devastating for Tank. Okay, we get it. But when I read that, right, it doesn't seem that bad to me. So maybe that's why he's going in and rejected the plea deal. Maybe he does just get probation and community service. They're coming up with 12 years for this. Now, we know what he's dealing with the issue with the domestic battery charge. It's kind of hard for him to kind of dodge that bullet, in my opinion, but it just depends on what all the charges are going to be. This one's kind of spelled out as far as the hit and run. But, hey, he could get a little jail time. And if he doesn't really have a team around him and he's burning bridges and going on about his business, I just think that's not good. And I think Gervonta Davis, think he needs to sort out his affairs sooner than later, because there's no guarantee that he's going to, get away with a tap on the wrist, tap on the hand. It could get ugly, but sometimes, man, it just depends on who you have. As a judge, so they want to make examples of a lot of these young guys, these athletes, entertainers, to send a message that, hey, it doesn't matter what your status is, you're not above the law. And with Gervonta Davis, he could struggle with the hit and run incident. He could struggle later on with the domestic battery incident, have 2 losses. But that first loss, I think if he's not really focused, could be with Rolly, because I was saying that Rolly wasn't taking the fight serious. And if in his training camp, some of his sparring partners were kind of saying, hey, you can't underestimate Tank. And Rolly's just like, he's too small, he's a dwarf, he's a koala. I'm going to knock him out the first round, first shot, he's out of there. And Rolly's confident, and that's good. I like the fact that he's confident. Borderline arrogant, borderline jackass. That's okay. I really like Rolly Romero. But when you see him in shape, you see him in the condition he's in, he obviously took Tank serious. He obviously took him serious. And he has this weird style, and even Leonard Ellerby is saying it's a 50-50 fight. And, he's got to be kind of neutral because he represents both guys. But I think skills pay the bills. But if Tank, for some reason, man, it's whoever lands first. Okay? And I think everybody's favoring Tank. But you can't count out Rolly with that power and that weird style. Because if Rolly lands on Tank, he can hurt Tank. We haven't seen Tank hurt, but we haven't seen him hit cleanly by a Rolly Romero. Now, one thing we know is if Tank's not going to get in there and just stand in front of him. Tank boxed the full 12 rounds against Isaac Pitbull Cruz. If he gets in there with Rolly and he gets touched and he's like, okay, this guy has serious power. Tank's just going to box. and then break him down, and then eventually open up in the later rounds, because it's just going to boil down just a matter of attrition and who has the conditioning. But again, Rolly could be the first loss for Tank. Majority say that's not going to happen. Then he could take 2 more losses later this year, and actually it could be really a 4th loss if he can't sort things out with Mayweather Promotions. Because at the end of the day, it's all about where you're a good fit. You think about Tank going to Top Rank. We know that's not going to happen. Tank going to Eddie Hearn. Not sure. But where Tank fits, he fits over there with Mayweather Promotions, man. And you can say the only reason Tank has been successful is because of Floyd Mayweather and Floyd Mayweather's profile and his following and the team getting behind him. You know what? That's what you're supposed to do. If you have the ability to help somebody who's on your team, then you do it. It's like having family members. If there's an opportunity to help bring somebody up because of a position you hold or a certain status, then do it. And I just think that's what you're supposed to do, man. I don't see an issue why people have a problem with Floyd Mayweather using his profile to help fast track Gervonta Davis. Because Gervonta Davis, let me tell you, it's not that Floyd wasn't fighting for him. So we got to give Gervonta Davis a whole lot of credit for the entertaining matches that he's put on, because Gervonta Davis can bang. But we'll see what happens in a couple of weeks when he faces Rolly Romero. But it looks like these charges, at least for this hit and run, when I read that, doesn't seem too bad to me. Then again, I'm no lawyer, I'm no judge, I'm no legal expert, but you just wonder if they're going to try to make an example out of him. If at this point the money isn't going to be enough to get him out of, whether it's 1 week, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 1 year, 12 years, who knows? But I just can't see them putting this man in jail for 12 years for this. Even with the other stuff going on, I just don't see 12 years. I honestly don't even see a year. But then again, who knows what's going to happen. But it is what it is. That being said, appreciate the support. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. A conviction for Tank would be catastrophic. It would. But I think, 30 to 60 days, not a career ender, but it would suck. But anyway, you guys keep cool. Shout out to all the veterans, and I'm in the breeze.